The young war chief Thrall ended the demon curse that had plagued his people for generations. The orcs still wrestle with the sins of their bloody past. As the rampaging horde, they waged a number of devastating wars against their perennial enemy, the Alliance. Yet the rage and bloodlust that drove the orcs to destroy everything in their path nearly consumed them as well. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host Liam, aka Himvar. Today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Christie Golden's Rise of the Horde. Rise of the Horde is a 2006 novel written and narrated as well if you listen to the audiobook by Christie Golden. My brother and I have actually already done a spoiler discussion on this, and if you are familiar with the World of Warcraft lore or don't care about being spoiled about video game lore, then you can just go watch that instead, but this will be spoiler free. Now this one is kind of a sequel to the story of Lord of the Clans, which was written a few years before this one, though it is a prequel as well. Though how this works is essentially it is Durotan as the main character, but his son Thrall is narrating it. So at the beginning of each chapter, if I'm remembering correctly, you get a little piece from Thrall as he tells the story essentially. So it takes place with Durotan though, which is Thrall's father, and then it specifically starts Durotan's childhood, teenage years of sort as he meets Draka, who will become his wife and makes friends with Orgrim Doomhammer. So this also takes place on Draenor, which is the home planet of the orcs, which is kind of mentioned a little bit in the previous book. The previous book is kind of a redemption story and also a coming of age. This one is more of a tragedy by all means. It is extremely tragic. It doesn't have a happy ending. So it essentially tells us a story of the Eredar, led by this prophet named Velen, and how they most of them become corrupted into these beings called the Minari by Sargeras, and they become the Burning Legion. So it's pretty interesting. I think it's actually really well done, but just don't expect a happy ending. And you do not need to read Lord of the Clans before this. This is actually better written. I think Golden definitely did a better job here. She was already experienced when she wrote Lord of the Clans, so I don't know what happened there. But this is definitely a pretty good story. There are some plot holes. I don't think they're really Golden's problem. I think they're more of probably the writing of World of Warcraft. Whoever did that, their problem. But it does a really good job of humanizing the orcs, even more so than Lord of the Clans. And really the setup is done beautifully as you get this beautiful landscape that is just gorgeous, and you're like, wow, the orcs are relatable and awesome, and then it just all goes downhill from there. All right, because initially they are peace lovers and they're nature lovers. Not to say they're not good at war, of course, but it's pretty interesting, right, that they at the beginning they talk of children and full stomachs, and smoking pipes even, right, something I wouldn't have associated with orcs. And then this stuff though makes their fall all the more bitter, and like I mentioned, it's really a tragedy. But we specifically get this with characters like Ner'zhul and Durotan. And though both of them are able to do some good, it's mostly they're victims of circumstances. They're between a rock and a hard place, and they basically just don't get a break, and it's quite sad actually. And I think it's really well done. I think Golden does a fantastic job here of making you care for these characters. We do also get some other things as far as like Warcraft lore goes, but I'm not all that familiar with it. But it is interesting to see how the Old Horde gets through the Dark Portal at the end and gets to Azeroth. I'm not all that familiar with that story. My brother and I talked about it a little bit, and we probably will be reading Tides of Darkness and then the Dark Portal at some point, though we are taking a break and going to a different video game book for now. But anyways, those are my brief thoughts on Rise of the Horde by Christie Golden. If you haven't read anything by Golden and you are a fan of World of Warcraft, Golden is a fantastic author, and most of her books of the past couple decades have been Warcraft related, so I would hop on those. And if you like D&D, I would check out her Ravenloft stuff. Anyways, it's been Liam with Liam's Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.